Rhodes Music Radio.
That was I Am Me by Willow Smith, and I'd just like to say I am Uyinene. Right, so back to the conversation.
Well done.
I wanted to talk about what Sipho was saying about men being part of the conversation. Because I noticed that as everything was happening last week and all the conversations that were going on, the most vocal gender was the affected gender. It was the gender who's dealt with this, and the gender who walks outside their house and they're afraid, who goes to bed hoping that they see another day. How do we then bring our fellow brothers to the table and say, listen, this is happening, and have them talk to us about it, you know what I mean? Because the response normally is that, for instance, men are trash. No, they're not all men.
And then that immediately cuts off the conversation.
Yes.
I don't want to engage because now you're saying I'm trash. And that's something we know, that's something we can see, but the whole point of the Men Are Trash movement is to do that, is to make the men angry, to make the men react and want to engage, and then to allow that conversation to start. Because women are angry. We are tired. I am tired of educating men. I think it's up to the men to educate one another. Exactly. But I must say, I do think it needs to start at a point where men are comfortable with having these conversations. Men are comfortable enough to say, why are you looking at that woman as if she's a piece of meat? I think it's something so natural and ingrained in our society. So if you're dressed a particular way, it's okay for me to look at you in a particular way.
Exactly.
And that, I think, is something we as a society need to understand is part of rape culture. So a lot of people say, oh no, but I'm not trash, I didn't rape anyone, I didn't do anything. No, that's fine, but are you correcting your friends? Are you scoring women on a scale of 1 to 10, seeing how hot she is, you know? And when you say how hot she is, you obviously have another intention with that. So where are we going? Where are we going? How do we do this?
I think for me, it genuinely is a matter of the actual person saying, okay, let's say, for example, there's a public lecture happening about this whole thing of gender-based violence, and it's inclusive of men. It's a matter of you taking the initiative. Okay, I'm going to go to this public lecture to learn and unlearn a few things that I've learned and everything like that. So I don't think we can really force people, because even with that, it's a matter of no matter how much we talk to them, no matter how much we cry or whatever we do, if someone still holds the views that, like what Kath said, if someone still holds the view that those people think I'm trash, I'm not going to do anything about it. So then they won't feel the need to actually go and engage in these spaces. But for us, our only experience we know of men is trash, you know. So, and they don't know that because they don't actually engage in these spaces. So I think it's a matter of someone actually taking the initiative and going to these things.
But the other thing, Kat said, where do we start with trying to mold the society? And I was thinking of how we raise our sons, how we raise our little boys. I remember, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I heard a family member asking their son, if, I think it was about 6 or 5 years old, do you have a girlfriend? They're 5 or 6. You know, I think those kind of conversations also say a lot about how men are supposed to behave, or you know, the kind of ideal person that they try raise. It really scared me, and at the time I didn't understand the depth of what had just happened. But with everything that's going on, I'm starting to feel like the way we raise our sons determines who they become later on. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I mean, it's the example that you set. So if you know, if my father speaks to my mother in a particular way, that's exactly what my brother is going to understand and think is alright. And even though he might not be doing it physically now, in time, surely that'll be something that is subconsciously being implemented through actions, you know. So I do think that is valid. I do think that the example that you set as a man for the youth, the younger generation.
So, Kat, we are aware that you released a video a couple of days ago? Sometime last week. So can you please tell us about it? Kind of give my listener a summary, an idea of what goes on the video, what it means to you, what it stands for, and also please tell us where we can find the video. I've seen it. I thought it was amazing, and I think a lot more people need to see it. It's very impactful.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
Okay, so the video is called #IamUyanene, and I made it with my friend Talia. So we actually wanted to get the video out as soon as possible, and we made the video that night. We recruited people for the video that night, edited it, and released it the next day. And the conditions in which we were filming was really not conducive for sound, but we just decided to release the video anyway and get the message out there. So it starts off with saying, I am Uyanene Mkhwetjana, or I am Jessie Hess, or I am Megan Kramer. And these women list different names of the women that were within this last month that have died at the hands of gender-based violence. And basically saying that I am all of them and they are all of me. And then saying I'm a woman and claiming that and saying that we are all women and am I next? Because which woman is next? Because if you're next, I'm next. And this is a problem within our society that we really, really need to engage in. And it's something we need to address, not only within this university and within this space, but at a national level. So yes, you can find the video on YouTube. It's called #IamUyanene, but the sound is not that great. I do apologize.
I think the visuals definitely make up for it, because I watched it and I thought it was brilliant. She kept saying, no, the sound. I'm like, man, leave the sound.
Leave the sound.
The sound doesn't matter. Also, I wanted to talk about the statement that our president made, that the people will not get parole and they will revisit the cases. How do you feel about that? I'd just like to know, both of you.
I think that I think that's why we have MPs, to discuss these things in Parliament and actually come up with solutions. They represent us. We voted for them, for those parties to be in Parliament, and it's up to them to change the constitution, and it needs to be passed through that way, and we have these systems and structures. So I do think it's very good that President Ramaphosa actually did say that he is going to take this to Parliament, and it is going to be discussed and addressed through the correct channels. And I think it's something that won't be taken lightly. I think it's definitely something that will be considered. Of course, there are other factors that need to be taken into account, like what if someone is then later found not guilty? What if it's a false claim, and how do we actually assess whether or not this person is guilty? So those kinds of things are also going to impact the outcomes of this whole idea, I think.
For me, I honestly think it's okay. I mean, like, it should have been implemented a long time ago. Honestly, I'm not gonna praise him for doing something he's supposed to do, because that, do you know how bad murder is? Do you know how bad, like, the effect it has, rape, the effect it has on a person, and then you still say, okay, no, the person will get 5 years, and then they'll come back to society and do the same thing. But and then again, you still do the same thing of saying, no, 3 years, and then they'll come back. So I really believe that second-time offenders, or whatever they're called, second-time offenders should legit get no parole. Actually, even first-timers.
I think first time, yeah. And I mean,
even first-timers.
He was mentioning life imprisonment, and I think life in South Africa is, how many years is life? Is it like 25 years?
I think it's 25.
So that's not actually a very long time.
It should legit increase.
I want to say life imprisonment should actually be until you die. That to me
that's
is
life. Exactly. That's literally life. Because now
if you're still awake, you must stay.
Exactly. What happens if I'm like, 25 or something, and then 25 years after that I'm going to be out. So at the age of 50,
how are you rehabilitated into society? How do you integrate? And then how do we ensure that we don't have more repeat offenders?
Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Spumalele, for this discussion. My listener, I know it's intense, I know it's hectic, but that brings us to the end of our discussion. Thank you so much, Kat, for joining us. That was amazing. Please do check out the video on YouTube. And up next, we have a profile. It's the time to let loose and kind of try find an okay area.
Also, with regards to all of that, like we mentioned, pepper sprays are 30 Rand at the Opidon office. And yeah, guys, man, feel safe. And yeah,
thanks for having me on the show. And then I'd also just like to say that RU Confessions post about having a Black Thursday instead of a Purple Thursday, it's a great idea. I really like it, and I think it's something that we will definitely look into.
Definitely.